Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Jacks of All Fandoms podcast. I'm Joe. I'm here with my associate, Nick. Today, we're going to be discussing Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Nick, tell us a little bit more about Spider-Verse.
Well, basically, it's this animated movie. It's like the style is just completely unique. They're definitely doing a second one, but all that we have is that it's going to be released in 2022. Is it? I believe it was 2022.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, we have nothing except a release year. So this is just a few of our ideas of different multiple Spider-Men, because that's what it's about Spider-Man from multiple universes. So here's a few of our suggestions for future sequels of what Spider-Man from other universes we want in these movies.
And I believe you're also the first one up with your idea?
Oh, that is right. First up, Lego Spider-Man. You see, the creators of the Spider-Verse were also the creators of the Lego movie universe, Phil Lord and Chris Miller. So it feels like a no-brainer to actually have Lego Spider-Man in there.
That's a nice in-joke.
It is. It's a great in-joke. And there's actually multiple versions of this character, because I actually did research. And there are actually, there's the video game, there's the different shorts that were on Disney XD. So technically there's multiple versions of Lego Spider-Man. But if they had the rights, I think they'd just cut out the middleman and just make him set in the Lego movie universe, because I had this idea with the Master Builder lore from that franchise. Because, one, I thought it would be hilarious if he didn't come out like the same size as the other Spider-Man out of the portal. He's just like an actual tiny little Lego guy.
I do like that idea.
Yeah, that's like, he's actually a puny Lego guy. And Master Builders, if you've ever played any of the Lego games, it's basically when they build a bunch of zany inventions really fast. So I had this idea for a very specific joke where he uses his Master Builder powers, and it looks like he's building this giant extravagant thing, but it's tiny, and then one of the bad guys steps on it, and he's just writhing in pain and falls over. So just like that specific joke, I kind of wanted this. He doesn't have to be a main character, just a side character. I just thought it would be funny. Alright. I believe you have your next suggestion?
So I am. So this is a thing from Earth 311, they call it in the Marvel Universe. But there was a bunch of time travel shenanigans that happened that moves the entire Marvel Universe to the year 1602.
Oh, I know where this is going.
Oh, yes. I believe he just goes by The Spider. He's a Scotsman, Peter Parker. I think that's how it's spelled.
It's weird. Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's like Parquagh. I don't really know how to pronounce that.
Well, I think, granted, it's been a long time since I read the original comic, but my idea for how to bring him into this universe, sort of like they did with the Noir Spider-Man, is that they leave out the more emotional moments and just lean into the comedy of the character. I just want to have him, every time you cut back to him, he tries to break into some Shakespearean soliloquy.
That is awesome. And that's actually kind of funny, because it has been a while since, but I'm pretty sure he dates Mary Jane, and I'm pretty sure she's part of Shakespeare's acting troupe. Like, I think that's actually a canon thing, and he's got, the Shakespeare ruffle as part of his costume. So
I do remember that.
So yeah, I do legitimately think that is a thing for the comics too, and I might be wrong on that. No, okay, Shakespeare was in the Fantastic Four one, but she was part of an acting troupe, so
okay.
I don't think it was Shakespeare's. Guess I'm up next. So before I tell you my specific suggestion, I want to tell you a story.
Oh?
Yes, a little story. You see, back in the 90s, I was on a very famous TV show. Okay, but okay, in all seriousness. Marvel Comics, they were in dire straits. They were selling off the film rights to all their beloved properties, basically to the highest studio bidder. Only recently did they get them all back, for better or worse.
Yeah.
But there was actually not an entire studio, a single man who wanted the Spider-Man film rights IP for himself.
Oh, God, no. I know where this is going.
Yep.
Okay.
Michael Jackson.
Yay.
Michael Jackson wanted to buy the film rights to Spider-Man, specifically so he could play Peter Parker. I am not kidding. So that is why I would like to have a Michael Jackson Spider-Man just appear in the background in one of the group shots with the thousands of Spider-Man coming through the portal. Lord and Miller love putting Easter eggs like this crap in all their, like in Lego Movie, in even in Spider-Verse, because they reference the Popsicle, they reference the Raimi movies, they reference everything. So I think making the King of Pop, King of the Wall Crawlers is a perfect addition.
I wonder what his costume would look like. Would it just be like a Spider-Man costume with a Michael Jackson suit and hat put on over top of the tights?
I don't know. I think it would probably definitely be a sequence. I thought like maybe I forget. I think it's Is it maybe the cover of the Bad album? Something similar to that, but like with sequins and more the Spider-Man thing. Definitely like the mask, but like his hair is poking out in the fedora. Oh, and a single white sparkly glove. Like that has to be part of it.
You know how Michael Jackson always did the thing where he leans forward in his songs?
Uh-huh.
There was a specific song that I can't remember off the top of my head.
I think it was Smooth Criminal, maybe?
Yeah, Smooth Criminal. So I want to have a thing where he leans forward and does that, and then all the other ones, because they all have the wall crawling and superhuman agility, they're like, oh, we can do that too. And then he just feels terrible the rest of his
all
year.
of them can do that. He's not special. Okay. That's a good one. All right, I believe you're up.
Yes, I am. So we don't get to see a huge amount of information on what Peter B. Parker's life is like back home, but what we do know is that the reason he broke it off with Mary Jane is because he was afraid of potentially being a parent. That's like a huge character arc with him. At the end of the movie, he's proud of Miles. He's like, wait, do I want kids?
Yeah.
So I think the best way to help him make the transition to father is to bring in Mayday Parker. Now, Mayday is the canonical daughter of Peter and MJ from an alternate universe. Was it 982 Earth?
It might have been. Like, yeah, I think that sounds right. So.
Okay. Well, we know that her powers work a lot different than the other spiders, especially where her spider sense is concerned. So that can be kind of another unique thing, like how Miles has the Venom Strike and the invisibility.
That is true. Like, most spiders actually have, like, some variation of the powers. So
Yeah.
It's not... So would it be like a time jump, and, like, maybe the two universes, time works differently, and then he just already has Peter B. already has a daughter, or?
Yeah, that would be my thing, I think. Because you know how, like, Peter B. Parker's universe is about, 10 years behind Miles's universe
That
in the
is true.
timeline? And Gwen is, 20 years behind everyone else?
Yeah, which is explain. I think they did do a reference to that, because, like, she came before all the others, and she was just in the universe longer, so I think, yeah, that's what they were going for.
Hi, Joe from the future here. Nick and I talked about it a bit more after recording, and I think we have a better idea to integrate Mayday. First, we're going to open the film with Peter telling Miles that MJ is pregnant and he's still nervous about raising a child. Then have Mayday appear from another dimension, already grown and ready for action, and let her be the one to say, "Don't worry about it, you're going to do great!" This leaves future stories with Peter B. open and gives us a chance to see some fun daddy-daughter moments, like a comedic version of Logan and Laura in that movie. But now Nick and I want to talk about Gwen for a little while, so let's get back to the podcast. If we ever did a story from her angle, I'd kind of like to see her reaction to just getting to that world for the first time and seeing, oh, my best friend who died 2 years ago is now a middle-aged man. And Spider. And dead.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like they mentioned that, because they do address that she accidentally killed Peter when he turned into the lizard from a brief flashback, but you're right, they didn't really actually do a character moment of her interacting with the other Peters, which probably should have been a thing, even though the movie is great, don't get me wrong. But...
That's not like a nitpick.
Yeah, it is, exactly.
There was the one scene I remember when he goes to approach the MJ of the Miles universe at the party, and then Gwen stops him, like, hey, I know this hurts, and I suppose that's like them acknowledging this?
Yeah, that is, like, maybe she's just not, I wouldn't say more stoic. I guess maybe stoic is I guess the term. Just like she's keeping it more bottled up than he is, and like you can't really blame Peter B. Parker just with all the crap he went through.
I believe it's your turn.
Oh, my turn. Yes. So every fan of Spider-Man knows about Aunt May, a sweet, lovable old lady from the Sam Raimi movies. She's basically a light breeze away from death's door in the comics, yet she's somehow getting younger and younger at each reboot. Like. Seriously, I swear to God, she's going to be the same age as Peter by the next time they reboot this series. I don't understand. However, there is an Earth, I believe it's 3123, elderly Aunt May specifically, gets bitten and dons the red and blue to become Spider-Ma'am. Yes, she's an old lady, and she whips around with special sewing thread that's indestructible. I swear to God, I'm not making this up. I think she literally makes a joke about ordering this from Reader's Digest. In the actual comic itself. Yes, it's sewing thread. I don't know how she whips it around, but she does. Because, she's not a scientist, so she didn't make the chemical web shooters. So I think that's a good addition. Plus, the fact that Aunt May, I guess she's more like the Andrew Garfield Spider, around the age of Andrew Garfield Spider-Man's Aunt May. So she's older, but she's not old, so I just thought it would be funny to see the interaction between like, oh, stereotypically old lady Aunt May, and just like the air, she's like, oh my gosh, this is what I'm like in other dimensions. just like that interaction, I just thought would be.
I think I've got an idea that's kind of similar to that I'll bring up later, but the one I want to talk about next is Ben Reilly.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, see, Ben Reilly is a clone of Peter Parker from the comics, so really you don't even need to go to another dimension for this. You just set up a storyline where Olivia Octavius took the DNA of Peter, probably from his dead corpse, because he's buried in New York, and then cloned a teenage version of him. I'd imagine that this would happen somewhere in like Spider-Verse 3, where Miles is already pretty advanced and mature as a character. Yeah, so he could become a mentor to the young Spider like himself. Maybe Gwen could have a few emotional moments with him because he looks exactly like her best friend who died in high school.
That is true. Oh yeah, because that was around the age too. Because it was like, yeah, right. And you wouldn't really need to do much because Peter Parker was already blonde in that universe, so you don't even have to dye his hair like they did in the comics.
What if we did the reverse, where he changes his hair brown afterwards? That could be funny.
Yeah, that could be funny. They could, just definitely do a reverse of that. And it's funny you should mention that because I actually thought of a way that my next suggestion could tie in with this. So, like, I wasn't planning on doing this, but this actually could work. So, if they ever wanted to bring just a straight-up evil Spider-Man into the roster, I've got this creepy crawly to add. He's evil, he's near-mindless, he's got 6 arms, giant fangs, and claws. He is known simply as the Doppelganger. He's the 6-armed monstrosity created by the Magus, who, and I'm not kidding, is a purple dude with a silver afro who looks like he escaped the 70s exercise video. He's crazy. So, like, yeah, from Infinity War is actually not an adaptation of the comic Infinity War. The movie is actually an adaptation of the Infinity Gauntlet. Loosely. But Infinity War is Magus, and he creates a bunch of dark duplicates of all the other different heroes. Doppelganger is the only one that actually survived outside of it, probably solely because of his design.
True.
So my original idea, of course, was to just have the bad guys say, oh, guess what? We have Spider-Man too, and then like open up a portal, and then just evil, crazy, psychotic, feral, 6-armed doppelganger just comes out and attacks them. But now I kind of want to tie him in to your story. Like, maybe Olivia had attempted this before, and this was like her first trial run.
Okay.
And like he just comes out as this deformed spider creature. And I don't know, like maybe she treats it like a pet or something. Like
I do like that. Just this deformed Frankenstein creature. Just spray it with water. No, bad spider, bad.
Just like he can still be intimidating, but also put the comedy in there too. So yeah, I think this would work. This could work. I like this.
We may be ripping off the bit with the Tasmanian Devil in the new Looney Tunes show with this idea.
That is true.
A little bit.
They did kind of make him the family dog, but I don't know. I think that works on its own. Just the fact that it's not it's even not technically a man. It's not a monster. It's technically a man. It's just.
I'm genuinely curious what the internet would do with this image after we've put it out into the movie. Just the idea of this swinging single scientist lady with her pet clone doppelganger monster.
6 arms and like giant spider talons on its face.
We're gonna get like a bunch of fan art of just him doing mundane things in like a dog park, like her playing fetch with him and all that fun
and then he
stuff.
rips out his webs to catch the ball.
No, that's not how you're supposed to play the game. You run. You get it.
Then she like sprays him with the water bottle. Oh, that works.
This is the weird new remake of Lilo and Stitch.
It's just a boy and his dog movies, but with instead of a boy and its dog, it's a middle-aged woman with rubber octopus arms growing out of her back and her deformed monster clone. Okay, we should probably get to the next suggestion.
I'm sorry, yeah, that's a good... Okay. So my idea, the next one I want to talk about is Superior Spider-Man. So this was a story from the Marvel Universe in an alternate timeline, which I think made the transition to main canon at some point, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, so the idea is that Otto Octavius, on his deathbed, created a device to switch his mind with Peter Parker. So Peter dies in his body, and Otto lives on in Peter's body. And then he decides to try to be a better Spider-Man. And it's kind of a good character arc for him to be like an actual hero for a short time in his own weird way. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, the whole goal of the point of the end of the story is that Otto is terrible at the job, and then he kind of finds a way to give it back to Peter. So maybe this could be like the anti-mentor character for Miles in the next film. Peter has shown him what a hero is. Otto can show him what a hero is not.
I mean, at least he tried. He was just kind of ruthless.
Yeah.
What wasn't there that awesome scene where he was actually like, he punched, I think it was Scorpion, and he like unhinged his jaw, and he's like, oh my god, Peter's been holding back his strength this entire time, and I never realized.
There was another scene. It was Superior Spider-Man, right? I just remember that panel of him punching Black Cat in the face, and she's like, whoa, what is wrong with you? You are a criminal. I am apprehending you. Was that Superior?
I think so.
Okay.
Because obviously he wasn't in his right mind, because, Otto wouldn't know that he has a complicated relationship with Black Cat, to say the least.
Complicated is an understatement.
Yeah, I'm purposely lowballing this. I don't want this to become an R-rated podcast. Oh, geez.
There is another thing that I do like with the idea of Otto being one of the spiders in this film. We can have a moment in the film where Olivia Octavius is there and she's going nuts or something, and then Otto just looks at her, he just turns to Peter, he's like, tell me I was never that crazy. And Peter V just goes, no, you were worse.
He really was, though.
Mm-hmm.
She honestly, I swear, she is honestly the toned-down version of Otto. I forget, did they ever explain what happened to her in that universe? Is she related? I'm assuming she's related to him in some way. Her last name's Octavius.
I always thought that she was the counterpart to Otto, but I'm not certain.
Because I forget why. Oh, I remember what it was. It was the Jingle Bells thing that Spider-Man did in universe, and he specifically mentions Otto Octavius in the song.
Oh, okay.
So Otto has to exist in this universe because they do acknowledge that, yes, that Christmas album is an actual thing he did in universe. Mm-hmm. So yeah, she has to be related to him in some way.
Actually, that could be a spin-off thing.
Exactly, figuring out her origins and then do a thing with that.
Maybe it was like a twin sister or something?
Could be. All right. Well, I think it's time to bring up the darkest part of the web slinger's career. I'm not talking about the Clone Saga. I'm not talking about One More Day. Or Sins Past, or whatever they're doing with him now, because I'm not liking what they're doing with him now.
J.J. Abrams or Dan Slott? Which one are you referring to in that statement?
Yes. No. 4 words bring a collective chill down the spines of any Spidey fan. Turn off the dark.
Oh my god.
Yep.
Okay, we're going there.
You are going there. This show was not only bizarre and unwatchable, it technically was never actually fully released. They never actually had a full script. They just did different versions of the script. It never actually made it to Broadway, technically. Yes, we are talking about Broadway Spider-Man, the one with the most accidents and highest body count of any Broadway show ever.
Well, they tried to take the whole flying harness and put it on his wrist.
That's a stupid idea. I mean, there's a reason that it's a comic book and not real. Even the Raimi movies used actual wires. They didn't just spring him by the wrist, Tobey Maguire by the wrist. They're like, ah!
That is an image I want to see now. Just Tobey Maguire
just swinging in a circle. Okay, so yes, I would like Broadway Spider-Man to make a small cameo in the sequel. I literally have, and I swear I have been planning this the second I saw this and knew they were making sequels. So whatever the endgame type situation is, where the hundreds of Spideys come out through the portals, one Spider-Man in a sequin leotard is like, I'm here! And then his web shatters, and he snaps both of his legs on impact, just screaming in agony. And then it has to be Spider-Ham, because he's the more fourth Wally of the thing. Yep. Well, he was completely useless, and they just leave him there for the entirety of the battle. Just every so often we cut back to him, and he's just like screaming in pain. And maybe there's like a thing where a bad guy walks over and he's trying to beat him. He's like, no, I feel sorry for him.
I love this idea.
Like they feel sorry for him, and he just like notices that both of his legs are, and and when everybody was going back home, he's just screaming, and like somebody just drop kicks him into one of the portals.
Okay, if I may build on this idea. Do you remember the big villain that was like going through the multiverse and killing all the Spider-Men?
Oh, the Inheritors.
The Inheritors, okay. I wanted to have like a post-credit scene for the Spider-Verse where it's building up that he's going to come, where he goes through the portal. Maybe his introduction has him killing one of the Spider-Man characters, but then he's like monologuing to himself, yes, soon I shall go through the multiverse and have them all. And then he just Look, he just hears the crying, looks over. There's the Spider-Man in the leotard. Nah. And just walks away.
Not worth it. Yeah, because I think their entire thing is that they feed on the spider totems throughout the multiverse.
Yeah.
And, like, that's just how they survive. Which is weird because technically Life Story also had a version of the Inheritors that's not the same because they killed him, and it's really confusing because they're a multiversal threat. I guess some multiverses have their own select multiverses. So.
That could be interesting. Dissecting the quantum physics of Marvel.
That is true. I mean, they did basically say that the Mixolydics from the Supergirl show in the Arrowverse, like, that's unique to the fifth dimension of the Arrowverse. That's not.
As long as they never have to bring up the Mixolydic of Smallville, I'm happy.
Oh God, no! We're not even going into that diatribe right now.
Okay, so
I have too many things to say about that show. We're moving on.
That was a brilliant idea. I have to say, now I feel a little underprepared with my final pick. The one that I have is just all the other famous film and TV spiders.
Well, obviously, we gotta include all of them.
Apparently, there was supposed to be a scene where Toby, Andrew, and Tom showed up in the first film, but it got cut for some reason. I don't know why.
Probably licensing.
But see, we had the scene at the end of the first one where the 60s one shows up, which is hilarious, and I love it. But if we're gonna have this climactic endgame battle, let's just bring them all in. You can have, like, the one from the Spectacular Spider-Man. You can have the one from the 90s Spider-Man. God forbid, the Ultimate Spider-Man series version. And maybe you could have a joke with the one from the Amazing Friends Spider-Man. Just bring them all in. Please make it work. I have faith that Lord and Miller can pull it off.
I have faith in them as well. But maybe get, like, Insomniac Spider-Man for the PS4 game.
Ooh, that could be fun.
Spider. Like, that looks real. That's just a cool design.
They had his suit in the movie, right?
Oh, they did.
In Peter's lair.
Have his suit. I forgot they did.
Yeah. I have to say, moral of the story, Lord and Miller, if you are watching, please hire us.
Exactly. We are open for free Okay, not free. I want to be paid. But
I will do it for a nickel.
I will do it. I will also do it for a low sum. Just not free.
I will do it for pennies if you put my name up in that credits, because that would be amazing.
Exactly. Yes.
You know what? That'll just work for resumes someday.
Exactly.
I wrote the Spider-Man movie.
Yes. I wrote in a scene where a Spider-Man in a leotard shatters both of his legs. I kind of knew this was going to devolve into this eventually. Just us laughing at the stuff we came up with.
I mean, that's how most of our conversations
That is true.
go.
That is most of our conversations. All right. So, yeah, I think that's all I can really think of for the new Spider-Man.
Yeah. You know, there is one small cameo thing that I really think was interesting in the first film that I'd like to just address really quickly. So you know how in the scene when Olivia is first introduced, she mentions, "Oh, my friends call me Liv, my enemies call me Dr. Octopus."
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there's a small little touch in there after the villains break into the Parker household when Aunt May just goes, "Oh, great, it's Liv."
I didn't even notice that. That is crazy.
See, that's a weird thing to think about, but then Aunt May and Dr. Octopus were a couple in Marvel Comics for a very long time.
That is true.
I think that's like a very subtle way to tell us that Aunt May is bisexual in this universe. Maybe?
Yeah, that could easily be a thing. And obviously she broke it off when she found out she was crazy.
Or did she?
Or did she? Yeah,
we don't know what they do on weekends.
That is true. We don't know.
How does May fill up her free time?
Hey, we already said we were going to make this an R-rated podcast.
I'm sorry. Okay, fine. That's as good a note as any tangent, I guess.
All right.
Well, thank you everyone for listening.
Yep.
And we will see you at some point in the future, I guess.
And hopefully. This was fun. I'd like to do this again sometime.
Fare thee well.
Fare thee well.